Hello everybody and welcome to another video. Now today's video is coming quite late in the day, later than usual. But earlier today, My Dying Bride released a new track off their upcoming album, Ghost of Orion, which is due out sometime in March, I think it was. Now, about 3 weeks ago I covered the first track they released off the album called Your Broken Shore. And as I explained in that video, My Dying Bride are possibly my favourite band. You know, the sort of on par with Megadeth, who are like the band that got me into metal. But My Dying Bride are possibly my favourite band, or at least one of my very, very favourite bands. Fantastic band, I really enjoy their music. And I've mentioned before, I'm a big fan of the doom genre of metal, although people have argued that My Dying Bride are not doom. Now, anyway. This new track is called Tired of Tears, and from what I understand there are no actual lyrics available for it at the moment, but it is a lyric video, and there is actually a little bit of a story that goes along with this song, so there's a bit of an explanation for the song, so we can better understand what it is about. And it is actually a quote from Aaron, and it says, "The track touches upon the most terrifying, stressful and harrowing period of my entire life, the near death of my only child. I have been down before, but it never hurt like this. This was true darkness, and I was not sure my mind could take it. My entire world looked like it was going to implode, but I was determined to fight all the way. Tired of Tears was exactly how I felt. They had been flowing freely from me for months, and I was a shadow of my former self. It is sad that this will continue for many others, innocent people, so very tired of tears." So, you know, there's quite a strong basis behind this song, you know, the near death of his child. I mean, that has got to be a severely harrowing experience. I mean, when my own daughter was taken into hospital and we found out that she had a very rare form of cancer inside her eyeball and she had to have one of her eyes removed. I mean, that was traumatizing as hell for me and my wife at the time. You know, so I can't even begin to imagine how bad it must have felt knowing that your child was on the brink of death. You know, that must be hideously terrifying. So, you know, we know there's some quite powerful impact behind this track, and My Dying Bride are very well known for creating very emotional and powerful songs. You know, some tracks off earlier albums, you know, can bring you to tears. You know, for example, Light at the End of the World is one track that springs to mind that, you know, it makes me cry. Not all the time, but you know, it has in the past made me cry because it's such a powerful, beautiful and emotional song. So, you know, I can kind of expect that sort of passion and emotion to come through in this track. So, yeah. So, like I said, no lyrics available, but it is a lyric video, so we'll see what we can discern and talk about the lyrics as we go. But we'll just jump to the track now. I've been waffling on for 3.5 minutes. Yes, Tired of Tears by My Dying Bride. Let's have a look.
Right through her fingers, her mortal
Well, there you go. Tide of Tears by My Dying Bride, and as anticipated, a very, very powerful and very, very emotional song. There was a couple of times there I was starting to sort of well up. It's, it's a very powerful song. Um, there's specific lines in there. Like there was one specific line: "Lay no hand upon my daughter." It's like he's speaking to like the gods or like to death himself. Don't keep your hands away from my daughter. She is not going anywhere. She's staying with me. And there was other lines like, "Without you, I have become mortal." So it's like there's that old phrase like, "Mother is the word for God on the lips of our children," something along those lines. So it's like, the parent is the provider for the child, and in essence, it's like the way that God is the provider for mankind. And yeah, I mean, the music is actually quite heavy. It's heavier than I expected for a song with this sort of story. But again, it had that beautiful violin in the background, and anybody who knows me knows I love the sound of violins. The sound of violins is one of my favourite sounds in the entire world. And just that, even that violin at the end, you can feel the emotion in that piece of music. Excuse me, and in the vocal performance as well. Although there seemed to be some sort of effect used on his voice, which doesn't normally do in most of the previous albums, but there was this sort of effect on his voice, which I'm a little unsure of, if I'll be honest. I don't think it really would have needed that, but I don't know what it sounds like without it, so I could be wrong. But again, fabulous song, like I said, emotional, powerful, and you can tell in some of the lines that he's written, the pain and anguish he must have felt in that instance. Sitting there not knowing whether your only child is going to live or die, it must be so agonizing to sit there wondering. I mean, like I said at the beginning of the video, my own daughter, she went through quite a serious medical issue. She was born with a chromosomal defect, which caused her to get cancer inside one of her eyes. Something called retinoblastoma, and as a result of this, she actually had to have that eye removed. So my daughter only has one eye; she's got a glass eye and whatnot. And luckily, this happened to her when she was so young that she doesn't know any different. But hearing that your 3-month-old child has got cancer is hideously traumatizing. It is an extremely, extremely difficult period of time for myself and my ex-wife. It was horrendous. So, and that was just like, that was not nearly as severe as like the death of a child, or nearly the near death of a child. And that was a hideously painful time for me and my ex-wife. So what this must have felt like, I can't even begin to imagine. And like you said in that bit of text at the beginning, he didn't know what he could do with himself. He felt like his head was going to explode, and he was like a former shadow. He was a shadow of his former self. So he had sort of collapsed in upon himself and sort of become a shadow. And he even sort of highlighted as much in the lyrics of the song. You almost become nothing. You sort of curl into yourself and almost disappear. Because the grief is just so strong, you don't know what to do. You don't know how to cope with it. It was the actual meaning behind that song is so unbelievably powerful. It's so beautifully written as well, and it was a great song. The only thing that really actually bothers me about it is that effect on his voice. I don't think that was entirely necessary. And whilst I love My Dying Bride, I love Aaron Stainthorpe. I think he's got a fantastic voice. He's got amazing ability for writing lyrics. You know, as much as I love them, there's still the occasional thing that doesn't always sit well with me. And you know, the effect on his voice, like I said, it might not sound as powerful without that effect on his voice, but you know, who knows? But I still like that song. I'm really looking forward to when this album comes out. Ghost of Orion comes out in, I'm pretty sure it's March. I can't remember exactly. But I'll put links down below where you can go to pre-order it should you wish to. But yeah, fantastic song, really powerful, you know. And I mean, even the title of the track, I like the title of the track, Tired of Tears. He's tired of feeling broken. He's fed up of feeling so emotionally drained and sad. You know, he wants it all to stop. He wants the pain to stop. He wants to stop crying. He's fed up of feeling this way. You know, and I just love it. And you know, the way he's going, it's sad that this will continue for many others, which is true because there is so much suffering and anguish in the world. You know, and you know, all these children that barely get a chance at life. You know, some people are really unfortunate and lose the child before they even leave a hospital. You know, and this is sort of, in a way, talking about that as well. You know, it's talking about all these people who have suffered this loss. So, you know, very powerful song, very beautiful song. I really like it. Very, very good. But I don't know what else to say about it, so I'll leave that as it is. If anybody would like to suggest a track for me to react to, then please do so by all means. You can drop a comment in the comment section below, or message me on my Facebook or my Instagram, or you can even message me through my Patreon, where you could also help to support this channel and help me create future content and improve the quality of the content. There is also an option on my Patreon where you can get your suggestion jumped to the front of the queue. There are a couple of limitations on that, and in order to be fair to other people who might suggest tracks through the regular means, such as like the Facebook or Instagrams, for example. And if you do suggest a track through regular means, do know that there is a possibility it might take me a while to get around to it. I do get suggested so many tracks every single day that my list grows faster than I can record the videos. I can't keep up with it. But I do write down every suggestion I get given, so it will get done eventually. It's just going to take me a while to get around to it, unfortunately. Also, Metalhead Reacts is a proud supporter of the Sophie Lancaster Foundation, a British-based charity whose main goal is to put an end to hate crimes, mainly those involving people of the alternative culture. And it's something that I believe in very, very strongly, something I'm very, very passionate about. Because, you know, every day, all around the world, people of the alternative community are getting violently attacked, you know, brutally beaten, sometimes hospitalised, sometimes even worse, just because of their taste in music. You know, and this isn't a new thing. This has been going on for years. I've been dealing with this for most of my life, since I was about 10 or 11 years old, and I turned 40 in less than 2 weeks, and it's still going on. You know, I still walk down the street and people shout insults at me, or throw things at me, or, you know, shoulder ram me into, like, shop windows or stuff like that. It still happens to this day, you know, some 30 years after it started. And, you know, this happens every single day to millions and millions of people, and it needs to stop. It, you know, it's unacceptable, because nothing gets said about it, nothing gets done about it. It's just sort of... it's ignored because nobody cares. It's just like, a Metalhead got attacked. Who cares? You know, it shouldn't be that way. You know, every day we hear about all these other crimes around the world. Like, we hear about sexism, racism, homophobia, transphobia, ableism, what have you. We hear about these every single day. At every point on the spectrum, we hear the most heinous and violent of these crimes, where people are brutally murdered because of their race, because of their religion, because of their sexual preference or identity. You know, down to the most pathetic of these things, where entitled Karen is calling the police because some family of colour are having a picnic in a public space. You know, from the most petty to the most violent, we hear everything about these. But we hear absolutely nothing about these people that are getting violently attacked just because of their taste in music. Now, people have said to me, oh, this doesn't classify as a hate crime. It is. It's the very essence of a hate crime. A hate crime is when somebody violently attacks somebody else because they hate something about that person. Whether it is their race, their religion, their sexual identity, their sexual preference, or their taste in music. If they are focusing on one thing about that person that they hate and violently attacking them or verbally attacking them in any way, that is a hate crime. It is the very definition of one. And, nothing's getting done about these things. The last time anything was ever widespread about a crime like this happening was 12 years ago, when Sophie Lancaster and her boyfriend Rob Melby were violently attacked by a group of 5 or 6 people, right? 2 people violently attacked by a group of 5 or 6 people just because of their taste in music. They were beaten, they were kicked, they had their heads stamped on so violently that both of them ended up in a coma. Now, Rob Melby, he did thankfully survive. He was in a coma for a week or so, I can't remember exactly how long, but he survived. Sophie Lancaster was in a coma for 13 days before she succumbed to her injuries. She was murdered because she listened to alternative music and wore alternative clothing. That is unacceptable. And this happened 12 years ago. And that was the last time there was any widespread media coverage of this sort of thing happening. Now, I can guarantee you, in the 12 years since that happened, hundreds, if not thousands of people from the alternative community have been attacked in a similar fashion. But nothing's been said about it. Nothing has been done. Because nothing's ended in tragedy. It shouldn't take the death of someone for this to get spoken about. That's unacceptable. We shouldn't have to wait until someone dies before something gets done, before these people get punished. Because at the moment, they're essentially just getting away with it. And we can't allow that to happen. And that's what the Sophie Lancaster Foundation is all about. They want to put a stop to this happening. They don't want to see another family go through what they went through when they had to watch their daughter die over the course of 2 weeks. We can't allow what happened to Sophie Lancaster to happen again. It never should have happened in the first place. And the Sophie Lancaster Foundation wants to raise awareness of the fact that this is happening and get more people talking about it and get something done so that we can stop this from ever happening. And it's really important that this happens because, people shouldn't be losing their life just because they like different music. You don't attack people because they like different movies or TV shows. So why is music a trigger point? Why is that something that people think is worthwhile beating somebody up for? It's unacceptable and it needs to stop. So if you'd like to find out more about the Sophie Lancaster Foundation, there is a link to their website in the description below. You can go over there, find out what they're working on at the moment, find out what their main goal is, because they can explain it a lot better than I can. And if you can help them out in any small way, obviously, don't feel obligated to do so, but if you can help them out in any small way, if it's a small donation through their website, or even something as simple as one of these Sophie wristbands you can get from their web store, the smallest amount can make the biggest difference. And the sooner we bring more attention to this, the sooner more people will start talking about it, and the sooner we can help to stamp out prejudice, hatred, and intolerance everywhere. But I'm going to leave that as it is for the time being. Thank you all very, very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.